of a total disappearance of the symbolic function. To put it less pessimistic, we must say that what now resists, at the best, this destructive virtualization is the singularity of languages. Singular, irreducible, moving and transforming, languages prove to be of an extreme resistance to the processes of extermination. In this sense, the game is still open, and no one can say who will have the last word. Anyway, and more generally speaking, there is no place at the same time for the world and for its double. The coexistence between a real or a symbolic world, with this total substitution of the world by an artificial, virtual world, identical to itself and perfect, cannot be conceived. It must be a clash between reality and virtuality. An example of this clash is to be found in this story, the fiction story of Arthur Clarke, the story of the 9 billions of names of God. It was a story of Tibetan monks in their mountains. Their task was to count down to describe all the names of God. And at the end, when this work is achieved, that will be the end of the world. Of course, it's a very fastidious work, and the monks are very tired. Then they heard about IBM and the experts of IBM, and they let come the experts of IBM with their computers, and of course, these people achieved the work in 1 month. Yeah. But of course, they don't believe at all in the prophecy of the end of the world. But as they come down the mountain with their computers, they see the stars in the firmament fading away one by one. That is a fiction story, but I read yesterday or the day before in the U.S. Today that in a monastery in New Mexico, monks, a new order of monks, are putting the old documents about the Vatican on the web. Then you see that's a very reality too. Now we come to the crucial point. For, as I spoke of the extermination of the real, of the reality, I mean the more and most fundamental extermination of illusion. But we must be clear about this concept of illusion. I don't mind the pejorative concept of subjective illusion of the irrational imagination as principle of falsity, phantasmagory, and evil. The illusion I'm talking about is the radical, objective illusion of the world that resides in this distance separating things from one another, and in this absence of things to themselves or from themselves. Nothing is ever identical to itself. We are never identical to ourselves, except in the sleep or in the death. Language itself never signifies what it means. It always signifies something else. By the very fact of this ontological gap, this absence from itself, the fact of this irreducible distance that makes improbable every relation of the same with the same. A total identification of the world with itself would be the very perfect crime. Fortunately, this never happens. In the relation of things, there is always a hiatus, a distortion, a separation, a rift that forecloses every reduction of the same to the same. And that is the same for human beings. We are never exactly present to ourselves nor to the others. Thus, we are never real, exactly real for one for another, nor each of us for himself. This state of radical alterity is what definitively resists the hegemony and the totalization of the same. By the way, it's also the source of seduction and attraction by the other. Let's transfer this illusion to a cosmic level. Everyone knows that the light of the stars arrives on Earth a long time after. Sometimes the star itself may have already disappeared. This distance between the star and our perception of its light, this non-simultaneity, is part of the very radical illusion of the world. But this irrevocable distortion is positive, for the simultaneous perception of the light of all the stars would be equivalent to an absolute daylight, and this would be for us unlivable. All the energy of life, all our vitality proceeds from this vital illusion, from the fact that nothing is identical to itself. If they were only the same, if the same were identical to the same, we were in an absolute reality, in the unconditional truth of things. But in some way, the absolute truth is the other name of death. So illusion is first inscribed in the things themselves, in the world, and not in the consciousness of a subject. Illusion is the general role of the universe, I would say, and reality is but an exception. I do not see, fortunately, any mental or intellectual construction that would neutralize the fantastic, material, and vital illusion by an effect of unconditional truth. It may be illustrated by another topic, the one of the Big Bang. In the history of the formation of the universe, after the Big Bang, a cosmic cooling off occurred that is responsible for the birth of our world. At the moment when things cooled down and materialized, this materialization results in an indissociable pair, both matter and antimatter. But very quickly, matter parted off from antimatter, evolving to our actual world. The materiality of our world, then, is a restricted materiality, unilateral and expurgated of antimatter. This volatilized antimatter forms a kind of invisible, of parallel world, of anti-universe, about which we know almost nothing, excuse me, and around which all astrophysics gravitates. I call illusion this invisible presence of antimatter, whose power is such that if it came into contact with matter, the interaction of each particle with its corresponding antiparticle would mean an annihilation of matter with the production of pure light. All matter would then be transformed into the radiation of absolute light. But no more science fiction. But the point is that our reality, our objective reality, occurs as a result from the fraction and total amputation of antimatter.